Hi there, it's Craig here. Just drinking a Coopers IPA beer kit that I do. I do this quite often actually, and I've been asked to do a video on exactly how I brew this. Now I'm not a scientist, I'm not a wizard, but I have been doing it this way for many months now, and I'm really enjoying this. This is the same as what I'm about to show you how to make. Okay, so this is a Coopers IPA with added hops. I'm going to show you how to do this, okay, or how I do it anyway. Right. So what we've got here, of course, is the Thomas Coopers Selection IPA beer kit. Okay, we've got that. We've got 500 grams of dry malt extract. You can use the Coopers brand or wherever you get your dry malt extract from. It doesn't matter. It's just 500 grams of light dry malt extract. Okay, so that's that. I've got my equipment here. I've got a fermenter. I've got a spoon for stirring. All that stuff. I'm gonna sanitize it. I've got some dextrose here. This is 700 grams. I know that sounds like a lot. You don't have to use that much if you don't want, but 700 grams of corn sugar or dextrose, same thing, okay? If you think 700 grams is a little much, if you're cringing, drop it down to 300, 400, 500 grams. I use 700 because it boosts the alcohol a little bit and it doesn't seem to hurt the beer at all. Okay, so that's that. And I've got 1 ounce of Cascade pellet hops. Actually, this is about 1.3 ounces. It's just a little bit more than 1 ounce, but I'm going to use it up. Okay, so that's what we've got, and I'll tell you, it makes a great beer. It's a quickie, and it tastes great. So let me get started. Put this over here so I don't spill that. Let me get started by taking off the thing here, the cover, and that's weird. There we go. Removing. This one didn't come with instructions. Isn't that interesting? Usually there's instructions in there, but nope. They forgot them. It doesn't matter. This is your instructions. You don't need that one. Okay? So let's put that up there. The can I'm going to submerge in hot water. Okay? So I've got a pot down here in the sink. I'm just going to fill it up with hot water from the tap. I'm going to set the can in like this. Just fill that up. Okay, you know about that. That's going to soften the malt extract a little bit, help it pour out easier. Okay. So I'm just going to put enough in here to cover the entire can. Okay, so there we have it. Okay, so I'm going to take this out. I'm just going to set it down out of my way. So that's that. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do, just take that out of the way, take that and this. We'll throw that in there. I have a clean airlock here. We'll just throw that in there too. Okay. Hydrometer. I'm not going to need. Well, you know what? For you guys, let's do a hydrometer reading. That way you can see the ABV of this, or the possible ABV of it, the way I'm going to do it. But there's the main stuff. Oh, of course. This bad boy. It has to go in there too. Okay? So there you go. And Star San. Okay, we're just going to dump this whole thing in the fermenter. That's Star San solution, and there you go. Okay, so that's that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the lid on this, and I'm going to agitate it and mix it around, snap it on. There we go. Maybe we'll put a little, we'll put a thing in here so it doesn't leak out. while we're doing it. And I'll just swish it all around. Okay. Get all the surfaces and that. So you don't need to watch me do that. I'll do that off camera. I'm going to take the dry malt extract, the hops, the dextrose up to the kitchen, to the stove, where we're going to do the hop addition. So I'll be up there in just a moment. We'll see it there. Okay, here we are up in the kitchen. Got my pot on with about, I don't know, a gallon and a half water. About that much. I don't know exactly what it is. Just enough to get things mixed around. And what I'm going to do, while this is coming up to a boil, I just turned it on a minute or so ago. We're going to add in our dry malt extract. Okay. You're better off doing this before you get all the steam coming out. All right. There you have that. And once we get rid of all the lumps there, then we'll dump in our dextrose. Whoops. There we go. A little bit of a mess there, but whatever. Give this a good stir, and we're just going to make sure it's all dissolved and not stuck to the bottom. And we're just going to bring this to a boil. Okay, we're hitting the boil now, and we're hitting what's called a hot break. A lot of foam. This is why it's good to have a good pot, a big pot that is. So we're just gonna control this. I'm lifting my pot off the burner a little bit. If you have a gas stove, you just turn down the gas a little bit, and we'll just wait for this part to pass. Ah, there we go. Finally. Okay, once you get to that point, just take your hops. 1 ounce of Cascade is what I've got here. And in they go. Alright, that's it. So we're going to let these boil for, whoops, sorry, I kicked my camera here. There we go. We're going to let these boil for about, I'd say, I don't know, a couple minutes. Because they're going to remain in the pot for a few minutes while we get the pot downstairs to the basement and we get the rest of the stuff ready to go. Alright, it's been a couple minutes, 2 or 3 minutes. I'm going to take off the heat. We're going to cover this. Actually, I'm going to wait just a bit till the boiling stops, and then I'm going to cover it. I'm going to take it downstairs, and we'll finish this off. Okay, we're back down here in the basement. Everything has been sanitized. I've got sanitizer over there, got my stuff in it. Let's get this thing into the fermenter. Okay, here's the pot. There we go. Everything. Okay, even the green stuff at the bottom. Doesn't bother me one bit. Okay, so we'll grab our can of which is down here, Coopers, and I'm just going to dip the top of it into my sanitizer for a minute. Just an extra precaution. I've got my can opener in the sanitizer as well, and as you can see, I've done all this, and I'm still on the same beer I was on at the beginning of the video. I know you guys can't see all this because I'm only running one camera. Okay. Pretty straightforward, okay? I'm going to do that right down here. Just get the lid off that. Can openers 101. How's that sound? There we go. Okay. And then we're just gonna get that, watch the paper. Sometimes some people take the paper off ahead of time. Maybe I should do that too. All right, and we'll just dump that right in to our boiled, hopped wort that we made. Okay. Now I'm going to stand here and let this run in for a little bit, but basically what I'm going to end up doing is rinsing this with some hot water. Now the water that I'm going to be using to top this up is my tap water. Right now my tap water is very cold because it's winter. If it was summertime here, I would have to come up with something else. Some people will freeze, they'll boil like a bunch of water, they'll boil a bunch of, like a bowl of water, and then once it's boiled, they'll freeze it. And then the next day, they'll just dump that in their hot wort, and it cools it right down and works very well. So you use the water of your choice. Okay, so that's that. Now, it's not quite out there yet. So we're gonna get some hot water with my sanitized green hose, okay? I'm just gonna fill that up with hot water. Whoops, it's hot, whoops. Oh, we put that down. Might wanna use a towel when you do that to hold onto the can. Sanitized spoon. We'll just give that a stir. Get it all off the sides. And now we'll just take it. Okay. Now the lid was sanitized. So I'm gonna get all the stuff I can. I'm just gonna dip it in there and move it around. Don't scratch your fermenter with the edges of it. And just get all that off there. There we go. Okay, clean, right? Give this a stir. Now you're gonna have to be the judge of this, okay? If you're gonna be adding, you know, so many liters of cold water to this, well, I mean, this is still steaming right now, right? So I might be in a little bit of trouble. So I'm gonna stir this for about 5 minutes just to get the temperature down a little bit before I top it up with cold water. If you, like I said, if you want to, put some, you know, buy your water from the store, put it in the refrigerator, get it really cold, and then add it to this. But I've got pretty cold water here, so we'll just do what we can. The trick is to get it to, and eventually get it to a temperature of about, you know, 72 degrees Fahrenheit. But I've had times where it's ended up at 78, right? And I just pitch my yeast. I leave the yeast on top. I don't stir anything. Put my lid on. I just leave it. And by the time the yeast starts to, because you think about it, you're making a yeast starter. Sometimes you're doing it at a higher temperature, or when you're not a yeast starter, but you're doing you're rehydrating your yeast. You're doing it at a higher temperature. By the time the yeast starts to ferment, your temperatures are down anyways. So, but try your best to get it down to a decent temperature before you pitch. And that's what I'm going to try to do here. I'm just going to go ahead now. I think mine is okay. And my water is pretty cold, so I'm going to go ahead and top it up. And I'm going to go for 20 liters. And I do that because my kegs hold 19 liters, and you lose about a liter when you're siphoning it into the keg. And you get a little bit better tasting beer that way. A little stronger alcohol, a little richer, nicer beer than if you do it at 23 liters. So that's completely up to you. And there. That's it, guys. I mean, really now I'm just going to stir it. I'm going to take a gravity reading. I don't normally do that, but for you guys, I'll just, that way you'll know what we're dealing with here as far as that goes. But this is the perfect temperature. I don't even have to look at the thermometer. It's at about 74, which is fine. This basement sits at about 64, so it's going to get cooler, and I may actually apply a heat belt at some point just to keep it up around 70, because that's the yeast that comes with this kit kind of recommends that. So depending on the yeast, you know, you do what what the yeast wants you to do. So that's that. So I've got that. I'm going to grab a sample here. Okay. So we'll grab some out of here. I hate wasting it, but there we have it. That's why I don't normally do it, because I know it's the same every time. So I don't waste this little bit of beer, but come on, out you get. There we go. So we'll leave that aside for just a moment while we finish up with our beer. I'll grab our yeast, and I'm going to stir the yeast in this time because I like the temperature, and we're all set to go. Sanitized scissors. I mean, this part's easy, guys. You know what to do. All right. The main thing I wanted to show you was the part where you put the yeast in, and that's how I do it. And I find that it works fantastic. I get great results. Okay. And I'm going to give this a stir. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I've never really noticed any difference between stirring and not stirring. But there we go. Okay. Slap on our lid here. Perfect. Check our seal. Yeah, my lid's a little bit flibbery here, but that's okay as long as it works. Yeah, there we go. Bob's your uncle. Okay, there you have it. So I'll monitor the temperature of that, and I'll there it is. It's done. Nice hoppy IPA. And in about a week and a half, I'll be, sampling this and letting you know how it tastes. I'm pretty sure it's going to be. BRB. Okay, there. Now I'm comfortable. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be just as nice as this one is. That's delicious. Well, listen, it's also very cold. Getting a headache. Listen, let's check our gravity. See what we've got here. And it looks like we're right at the bottom of the yellow there. Okay. 1.050. So that's going to give us a potential alcohol of, according to my hydrometer here, over 6%. Okay, providing it attenuates all the way down. So we'll see. We'll measure it when it's done. Now again, this is the way I do it. This doesn't mean that this is the best way, but I'm enjoying this beer, and I've been doing it this way for several months now. And I really think it's an easy home brewing method, and it makes great beer for those of you who are still doing kits. And hey, I'm still doing kits after 25 years. What the heck? Cheers. Whatever works for you works for me, and that's all that matters. Take care, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.